Today's episode is brought to you by Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. The birds are back, and you know what that means. Dr. Mesa joining the pod on a weekly basis, providing the best up-to-the-minute updates on all of our Eagles. Let's hope that we don't have too much to talk to him about with injured birds this season, but he and any of the other wonderful providers at DOS can talk to you about ending injury that you or a loved one have been dealing with for far too long. The only fellowship-trained surgery center here in the state of Delaware, why would you trust anyone other than the specialists? Them being specialists means that they are specialized in each and every part of the body. So if you come in looking for a specific doctor for a specific part of the body, they've got you covered. They're going to hold your hand and walk you through every step of the process, and you're going to make sure that you're happy with all of your results. 302-655-9494 is how you get a hold of them on the phone, or head on over to delortho.com to schedule your appointment today. After they provide you with wonderful care, head on over to Google, give them a great review, and let them know that Talkin 215 sent you.
Welcome to Talkin 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Shawn, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talkin 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasado.
What is going on, everybody? It is a Victory Tuesday here in Philadelphia. We now know who we are going up against, but we got a couple cast of characters. We got Papa Shawn in the house, and then we got the doc with the most, Dr. Joseph Mesa from our friends at Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. Gentlemen, doctor, how are we?
Awesome.
Good. Yeah, we're celebrating a victory over here, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Can't bring me down.
No. And look, it's like you watch that game, and there's certainly plenty of negatives to come out of it, especially in the offensive side of the ball. I mean, Saquon, Barkley in the offensive line, and maybe Devontae Smith are like the positives. Well, obviously Dallas Goedert had a massive play. Jahan Dotson had a massive play. I mean, that Dallas Goedert play, like if I was better at being like technically savvy and clips and everything, I mean, right after the play, he just held that guy's face without face masking him, of course, for 20 seconds. I was sitting there and I was just like, it's like he put his glove in dog shit and was just like, hey man, does this smell? How's it smell? And just holds the guy off for 20 seconds all the way to the end zone. What an incredible play when we needed it most. I mean, the guy just steps up when we need him with that one hand reach out. It's the Dallas Goedert patented move.
I mean, it was almost like when you're a kid and you have such a size advantage, you can put your hand on the kid's forehead and you're just watching them swing at you, trying to hit you to no avail, right? That's what it felt like. It felt like some backyard stuff where you could just spam the stiff arm if you're the biggest kid, and there's not a single thing that any of the smaller kids could do. It was great.
Us smaller? What are you talking about? Us smaller kids, ladies and gentlemen. Shawn is
smaller.
6'3", maybe more.
That is exactly how I would have handled you on the field.
That is exactly how you have handled me on the field. So I don't want to hear any of this, us smaller kids. Yeah, okay. Doc is a very tall gentleman as well, for those that haven't had the pleasure of having his able, nimble fingers working on their body. But anyway, Doc, you were at the game. You got to see it live and in person. How impressive was that defensive performance?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was like, I mean, I was really a little nervous seeing Jordan Love come in here, but even from special teams, the opening kickoff, I mean, they came to play. I mean, they definitely did everything that was asked for them. And now we have the number one defense in the NFL, which is almost a joke comparing it to last year when we were the number one doormat in the NFL. It is amazing, the transformation.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Shawn, what were your thoughts watching that defense go out there and really just make Jordan Love look like a guy? I mean, not even a guy. He looked terrible.
Well, I mean, this is a guy that had been struggling. Well, this is an entire team that seemed to be struggling the whole last month of the season, right? And no matter what anybody else says, I think momentum is a real thing in this league, both good and bad. And you saw it. You saw it just like the Vikings game. You saw a team that had been struggling the last couple games and totally shit the bed when it mattered most, right? Jordan Love is a guy. Jordan Love's a guy. I mean, this is another one where you have put together a full season and then people want to anoint him, a top 5, top 7 quarterback. And it's just not true. I mean, and the injuries just didn't help at all. This defense had him in a blender all night. There was no way that team was scoring more than 20 points under any circumstance.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously we'll get into our offense. I had the defense holding them to only 13, so it was pretty close. They held them to 10. But I had our offense putting up 38 against them. And again, we're going to get into that in a minute. But they really just shut him down. They shut Josh Jacobs down. And it's funny, if you listen to the commentators, if you listen to Tom Brady, you would have thought that Josh Jacobs was the best running back to ever be on the field during that game. I mean, he'd get like a 2-yard run. You just hear, oh, I'll tell you, that's a loss. That's a 5-yard loss for any other back. It's so incredible what Josh Jacobs is able to go out there and do. And he was really the only part of their offense that had anything going. Obviously, that all of their wide receivers got hurt. I mean, they lost Christian Watson before the game. They lost Jalen Reed during the game. They lost Romeo Doubs during the game. I mean, it's a shame. You never want to beat a team because of injuries. And I think we beat them handedly regardless. But it's still a shame. You never root for a team to get out there and get injured. It seemingly, I'm glad we're on our side of the ball here because, Doc, we wouldn't have had a chance to talk yet if we were the Packers because we'd just be asking you about 55 different injured players.
Absolutely. That cart was out more than I've seen it in a long, long time. And these were serious injuries. I mean, They were getting beat up. No,
it was really incredible. And it's a shame. I hope all these guys make quick and full recoveries and, and are able to enjoy the offseason and everything. But look, we are one game away from the NFC North, which was what a lot of people thought is the best conference in all of football heading into the postseason with the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers all having very high winning percentages, all looking the Vikings and the Lions looking like two juggernaut teams to having not one playoff win come out of there. And look, while the Lions should handle the Commanders, let's be honest, they really should. The Commanders are a fine team. They're a good team, but they're not anywhere near the Lions level. The Lions are still a very injured team. And at some point that catches up to you. Like I still heavily am favoring the Lions in this matchup, but it's not inconceivable to have the Commanders go out there and win that game, which obviously I'd be a big fan of. I think they're the far inferior team. I want to face the easiest path to the postseason as possible. And so I really like the Rams matchup, but this is a conference that you never know what's going to happen in the postseason. It's wild to see the Vikings go out there and lose the way they did. And then we obviously handled the Packers.
Is it that shocking that the Vikings lost? I mean,
no,
that seems to be their MO in the playoffs.
Is it true that I saw someone saying that they're the first 14-win team to lose in the wild card round?
They're the first 14-win team to be in the wild card. So,
oh wow,
yeah, because since they changed the format.
Yeah, since they got rid of the top two buys.
Yeah,
no, nutty. But no, to your point, the Vikings, while they had a great season, and I mean. Sam Darnold is playing for. He's going to get a pretty big contract this offseason somewhere. It could be in Minnesota. Rumors are they still aren't opposed to having J.J. McCarthy sit behind him for at least another year or anything. But he worked himself into a good contract, and deservedly so. And obviously Justin Jefferson went out there, played great. Aaron Jones had a great season. Jordan Addison, and so on and so forth. But it's still the Vikings. I mean, this is the team that went in with 13 wins and lost to the Giants a handful of years ago. But that was a team that I think they had 13 wins and only had a plus 3-point differential. So the whole season you were kind of like, this team's not legit. But I think that's the Chiefs. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs go out there and lose. That's a 15, 16 win team, a 15-win team that really should be an 11-win team. I mean, they're not that great. So we're going to see what happens with them. They're facing off against the
Texans.
The Texans, yeah. Now I think the Texans have been pretty bad, and they are pretty injured on offense. But I think the Chiefs are markedly overrated.
Yeah, I mean that's probably going to be a dogfight. I mean, a team that has all the name and the star power that is honestly just hasn't lived up to it, versus the Texans, which I think have been waiting for somebody to take them out of their misery for the last month or so.
Yeah,
right, and just haven't. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Either way, I mean, that to me feels like much more of a toss-up, but I would fully expect the Chiefs to pull that one out. That would be just such a quintessential Chiefs win for 2024. right? You're in a dogfight with a team that honestly doesn't look very good, and eke one out at the very end.
Yeah, that's a 24-25 Chiefs win right there. But look, we're talking birds, we're talking Eagles Packers before we get into Eagles Rams. I do want to switch over the offense. Like I said, Saquon Barkley, he's the best running back in the NFL. The offensive line had another phenomenal game, both in pass protection and run protection. You had a handful of players have good series, good drives, but overall, the offense as a whole was just bad. Now, I'm talking play calling. I'm talking Jalen Hurts. I'm talking A.J. Brown. Like, the offense as a whole was just stagnant.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's a tough one. I mean, we've had a couple days now to kind of reflect on what happened and take a look a little bit closer. And it feels like conservative play calling and just not even executing particularly well. Give the Packers their due. Like, they were a good defense, and they came into this game ready to roll. The defense, for the most part, was pretty healthy, and they made the Eagles look pretty human. But it's hard to think that for the last 2 months of the season, this Eagles team had been rolling right on offense, and now as soon as we get to the playoffs, the play calling is an issue. Like that feels hard to believe. That feels like I don't know. It feels like either the receiving core underestimated this Packers team, or what we thought going into the game was that Jalen was going to be pretty rusty, and just was. So the question is, was he rusty, or is this kind of a hangover from that concussion?
Yeah, Doc, I want to throw that to you. Obviously we're talking with Dr. Joseph Mesa from our friends at Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. Doc, Jalen missed only was practicing for 2.5 days prior to this game, had missed 2 full weeks of practices and games prior to this with the first diagnosed concussion of his career. Is there any kind of concern of post-concussion symptoms that caused him to play at that low level? Do you think just as rust because he only had 2 practices and nothing prior to that? Is it a combination of everything? What are your thoughts?
I think it's primarily rust. I think part of the problem too is when he was able to practice, A.J. Brown sat out. So it's like you got to get that timing back a little bit, and it does take some practice. I think that's a big thing. You had Devontae sitting and AJ sitting, and I think that's something. And I think he, ever since the bye, I think he's been a lot more conservative and less willing to take risks in the air. So he does a lot of, holding on to the ball too long, and just taking sacks or just running around. And I think that he's afraid to be a gunslinger. And you couple that with his recent, not being on the practice field and playing. And I think it is a little bit of rust. I don't think he has any residual symptoms, because if that were the case, they never would have let him play.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I didn't think it was anything concussion related either. I just wanted to ask your opinion, as you are the expert on this matter and all. But it didn't look good. I mean,
do you think the play calling was kind of nerfed, for lack of a better term, because he hadn't really been into practice many of these things? So he kind of went back to like a week 1 kind of preseason almost play calling.
I mean, I think so. And I think there were some real head scratching calls, like throwing a screen on 3rd and 2 or 3. I mean, who does that? You have Saquon Barkley in the backfield, for God's sake. The one thing I did like was they did have Jalen go on some runs, and he seemed to be attacking. He did not seem to shy away from contact in that regard. So that tells me he probably wasn't feeling anything like in terms of fear of getting hit or things like that. So that was a very good and promising sign for me. I question a lot of the play calling, and it may be due to the fact that they didn't get a lot of time together on the practice field, and they wanted to make it easy for Jalen coming back after being off for 3 weeks.
No, that's a great point. I hadn't heard anybody really talk about that. It was apparent that there wasn't much creativity. I mean, there was very few slants. And to me, like, a slant across the middle shouldn't be much of a nerf. That seems to be a pretty easy pass. It's a little bit of timing, so maybe they were concerned with the timing aspect of it and everything, with the lack of them going out there. But this is a team that you usually see A.J. Brown catching at least 2 or 3 slants in the game, making that first guy miss and taking it for 25 yards. And obviously we know A.J. Brown, the one catch he had was huge. It was a phenomenal catch. He caught it right off the turf, just was able to keep it up off the ground and convert a big down. But we all know he only had 1 catch the entire game. And I'm not sure he had more than 2 or 3 targets the entire game, including that one, trick play where they tried to act like they fumbled the tush push snap and then went deep. Love the play design. That was the most creative play we've seen in the entire game. But it was just, to both of your points, it was a very vanilla play call. Yeah, A.J. Brown only had 3 targets all game. When's the last time you would imagine that was going to happen when he's out there healthy, or at least as healthy as he's going to be 19, 20 weeks into an NFL season? But I'm certainly hoping next year we could practice. You're playing an opponent that we always seem to play well against. I mean, we've had the Rams number for seemingly the past 6-7 years. In recent memory, it seems like we play them every single year, and we always beat them, whether it be in Philly or Philly West, as we take over 75% of their stadium. So this is a team that I'm hoping we can go out there and perform well against. Obviously, this is the team that Saquon Barkley had his career high in rushing yards against, to over 220 rushing yards it was in LA, correct? Yeah. It was a Sunday night game in LA. So this is a game that you could see a lot of Saquon Barkley in. This is a game that, who knows, maybe we won't need to have Jalen Hurts have a great game. We obviously didn't need to this week. And I want to say that, like, while I'm sitting here saying Jalen Hurts was probably the worst player on the field when the offense was out there, he still won. And we're seeing Justin Herbert, a guy that people praise as, oh, he's such a great pocket passer, his awareness, everything about him. Oh my gosh, he's so pretty. He's so incredible. He lost. You see Jordan Love.
He's not as pretty as Jalen Hurts.
No, Jalen Hurts is far more attractive. Jordan Love, a guy everybody's talking, oh, he's got to be top 10. Who would you, all you heard was in the offseason, who would you rather have to build a team around, Jalen Hurts or Jordan Love? Oh, it's Jordan Love. I mean, he's just got the pedigree. He's got the stuff that you don't find. He's gone. He looked terrible. Yeah, you had a lot of guys go out there and just lose. Sam Darnold, comeback player of the year. He's a Pro Bowler over top of Jalen Hurts, who isn't a Pro Bowler. He lost. Baker Mayfield lost. I mean, you have these guys. At the end of the day, Jalen Hurts wins. He's a winner. And he did what he had to do. He made some good plays. Devontae Smith stepped up at the end there. Dallas Goedert stepped up at the end there. But who knows if we're going to need him, if we're not going to need him.
Listen, it's the playoffs. These are supposed to be close games, and there's no bad teams in there, right? But, man, this offense looked bad for like 3 total quarters.
Yeah.
Right? It was just, what is going on? There's no way the offense is play calling going, no, we don't want to score here. Right? That's never the
well, it's clearly they gave up on a number of drives. And any 3rd and long, they were running a draw. A halfback draw, just conceding the 4th down.
Which feels insane to me, because at no one point did we have this game in the bag. Right? No. I mean, maybe towards
we could have at 20 different points.
When we should have, right? I mean, we should have put up 35, right? What was going on with this team? What is the way? I mean, it's never one thing. You can never just say it's Jalen, right? You see, all of the armchair quarterbacks going over the all 22s, and there's, route running issues. There's, maybe plays are taking a little bit too long to uncover, but also you've got certain plays where the offensive line looks fantastic. Right. Yeah. And it almost looks like that indecision is what's making it look even worse than it is. Jalen might be buying a little bit too much time before throwing it away, or I don't know. There's just a myriad of issues that said this offense doesn't look very good against this Packers defense.
Yeah. No, it was concerning to say the least. Doc?
Yeah, I agree. I think they really I don't know if it's just too much in their heads. I mean, they're playing chess. And I think the biggest thing is they look at it and say, well, look, we don't want the disaster play. We don't want the turnover. And I think they're being a little overcautious for fear of doing that, because they feel like that's the one great equalizer in football, is turning the ball over. If a team's inferior to you, you give them the ball enough times, they're going to win the game usually. And I think they've got in their heads that that's what they don't want to do. And to their credit, they haven't turned the ball over since the bye week significantly at all. But I think the casualty to that is you're going to give up the home run plays, the deep balls. You're not going to take the chances you normally do. And I think it's imperative that they at least take shots down the field and make this defense honest. I think, the Packers, like you said earlier, are a good defense, and they're not just going to hand you give me plays time and time again. So you got to take what they give you. And I think they just had a bad game plan to take what the defense was going to give you. And I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking other than trying to protect Jalen, maybe. But then they had design runs. So
yeah, they had a ton of design runs.
Yeah, I don't know what the thought process was.
Now, but also, Shawn, we were at a game during an early playoff run that we both left that game extremely ecstatic, but also thinking, man, the offense sucked. And that would be the 2017-2018 season where we were at the Eagles-Falcons divisional round of the playoffs, and the offense sucked. The defense was incredible, but they looked absolutely terrible out there on offense. And what they do against the Vikings the next week?
Yeah.
Was it 38 points?
Right. So, yeah. So, I'm going to immediately put my foot in my mouth when it comes to that momentum leading into the playoffs, because it seems like once the playoffs start, after you get that first win, all bets are off.
Yeah, they won 38-7 the next game.
Yeah, we saw Nick Foles shake off the rust against the Falcons. And then once it was on, right? So you got to hope that that's going to be the case this upcoming week with Jalen. And he just puts up a 42 spot on a team that we put up 37 against earlier in the season.
Yeah, no, it's certainly possible. Now, I want to go over to the snap count and just bring up some of the snaps that really kind of surprised me when I looked at it after the game. One that I thought, he's coming off of IR. We've seen a lack of depth in this area. So, and before he got hurt, Bryce Huff was having a bit of a resurgence to a very bad year. Bryce Huff played one snap in this. One snap. The defensive end position is a position we talk about being pretty thin. We lost a number of guys in that area. He played one snap that game. Jalen Hunt, 21 snaps. Like that. Like to see the rookie get out there, play really well. Nolan Smith, obviously a guy that we talked about a couple weeks ago is hands down, the shocking player of the season. Either him or Nakobe Dean, and Coach and I both gave the edge to Nolan Smith as the biggest comeback on the Eagles roster, the biggest surprise in a good way on the Eagles roster. He played 58 of 66 defensive snaps. Guys out there for 90.
Damn good. He looked damn good for all 58 of them too.
No, he was incredible. I mean, he was playing out. He looked like prime Hassan Reddick out there when he was an Eagle. Just the bend, everything, just going athletically around these guys.
Yeah. He definitely got a good matchup where you could outspeed somebody and kind of beat him to the corner and, wasn't completely overwhelmed by the difference in size, and he took advantage of it.
Oh, I'll tell you, the size on that left side of the Packers O-line when they got all those injuries, it looked like the one guy went down, the guy replaced him, ate the guy that went down. They brought in some big boys out there. Their third and fourth string offensive linemen were just, hey, it's like the old thought process when you're a kid, like, why don't they just have a sumo wrestler play NHL goalie? He'll just take up so much space. The Packers are like, on our third and fourth line offensive linemen, we're just getting the largest human beings we can.
We're just taking flyers on 400-pounders.
Even if you get around him, it's going to take you 2 seconds to go around the circumference of him. So we're going to put him out there. But Nolan Smith was just like, I'm going to do the slightest move and get all 400 pounds of you moving to the left, and then I'm going right, and there is 0% chance that it is physically possible for you to move all that weight over to the other direction. And he took advantage of it. But that was Nolan Smith going out there playing not only at the level he did, but playing the amount of snaps he did was pretty surprising. And then sticking with the interior of the defensive line, or moving to the interior of the defensive line, Jordan Davis, 13 snaps. Played very, very little in that game.
And the snaps that he played, he was rated incredibly well.
Yeah.
But also you did see it in the run game, right? You saw a whole lot of, I think, 14 missed tackles throughout. And not that they were all attributed to whoever replaced him, but I mean, you just saw the struggle that came to getting a guy like Josh Jacobs down. Yeah. I'm not necessarily against it, because I talked a lot about trying to control his snap count. That is a little bit lower than I would have thought. But I think it was what Ojomo got, the ball.
Or Ojomo got 23 snaps, and then Milton Williams 43, and then obviously Jalen Carter played nearly the entire game of playing 62 of 66 snaps.
Yeah, I guess they just really like that matchup with Milton Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, you certainly come on as of late, and you would expect, I mean, just because of the size of Jordan Davis, I would expect Milton Williams to outsnap him more often than not. Although the disparity in this case, it's pretty jarring.
Yeah. No, it was, I mean, those were the only two really notable.
They gave up 10 points. So, I mean,
Yeah.
clearly they were doing something right. Like, make sure
Oh,
Jordan
certainly.
Davis is out there in obvious running downs and make the snaps count.
No, certainly. Those were just the two that were pretty surprising to me. Offense, no surprise, obviously. I mean, we had a fullback in there for 2 snaps, if you want to say that's surprising, but I couldn't even tell you what 2 snaps those were.
Who played fullback?
The fullback was played by one.
Because Van Sumeren's out.
Yeah, he's one Kari Blassingame. KHARIBLASINGAME.
Oh.
Kari Blassingame.
Okay. Sure. We know.
Yeah, I remember I saw the name on one player on one replay, and I was like, I could never tell you that man was on this team.
That's like a game 3 of the preseason kind of name.
Yeah. Yeah, game 3, previously game 4.
Game 4. Yeah, for all you guys that have been around a while.
Where you're just like, hey, you're giving the kid a chance to get out there and play for his mom. Like, cool. But Kari Blassingame went out there, played 2 snaps. That's the only real surprise on offense. Jahan Dotson, 34 out of 60 snaps. AJ Brown, 56 out of 60. Devontae, 54. Like, nothing crazy. Dallas Goedert in the high 50s. EJ Jenkins snuck out there and got a single snap. Good for him.
Good for him.
But no, I mean, offensive line, they offensively had 60 snaps. Is what it is. They didn't convert many first downs early in the game or late in the game or at any point in the game. So you're not going to have a crap ton of snaps. The Packers only had 66 snaps. It was a low snap game.
Definitely a low snap game. There was a struggle with any sort of long sustained drives.
Yes.
Right. Very atypical. Right. I mean, you of course you expect a splash play here or there, but it's not like this offense has really relied on that heavily, right? Any more than the next team. But this team has done a really good job sustaining long drives and really just getting the first down when it matters. It might not be on first, might not be on second, but a lot of third down conversions over the course of the game. And we just didn't see it. Yeah. We didn't see it. You talk about them kind of punting, like literally and figuratively punting it on, third and mid.
How about Brady Mann?
What about him?
He had a good game. 63-yard boomer at one point in the game. Had another number of other punts that were close to being perfect. That just ran 3 yards into the end zone or something like that. Like he was on his game.
I think there's another member of the kicking team that is a bit more noteworthy. Jake Elliott still isn't very good.
Hey,
he's gonna cost us, Jake.
He is 20 of 20 in postseason field goals.
I guess.
It's not. There's no guessing. He's 20 of 20 in postseason field goals. He has missed, I believe, 4 extra points in his postseason career. But I'd rather him hit the 3-pointers than the 1-pointer.
Yeah, but listen, I was wrong this time. But when he missed that extra point, were you not like, dude, that is going to come back and haunt us?
Honestly, normally, and you're going to be shocked because normally, I'm that guy that's like, damn it, that's going to get us. When it happened, I was like, it doesn't matter.
Defense was going to shut it down.
Yeah, I was like, I've seen nothing that makes me think they're going to be able to come back from being down 12 points.
Because it's no, ultimately they didn't because the defense was playing that well. But I was like, dude, this offense is just giving them the ball back, and our defense, as good as they are, there's only but so many 3-and-outs the offense can have before the defense is like, come on, man, we were just out on the field.
No, certainly, like they didn't. And the defense was quite literally doing everything they needed to do. They were getting incredible takeaways. You saw a great pick by Darius Slay. You saw Zach Bond just somehow disguise himself out there to where Jordan Love quite literally threw it to him. You had Q get his first interception. I mean, you had the defense just going out there. And thankfully, those made some of the Packers drives very short. So even when the Eagles ended up giving it right back to them after a 3-and-out later. Yeah, but it was like only after a 5-6 play drive from the Packers. So like you said, there was nobody with a long sustained drive. So even though we were like, man, it'd be nice to give the defense a break, they never really had a time where they were so gassed.
Our biggest breaks were the damn injury breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, the defense got their breaks when the Packers were out there carting their players off the field.
Right.
And again, we're not fans of that quick full recovery.
No, I'm not supporting it. I'm not like, it being enthusiastic about it. But seriously, like that's when we were getting our breaks, was when a player needed to be carted out.
Yeah. No, incredible. We're working on getting Doc back in. I wanted to ask him about Nakobe Dean. Obviously going to be out the remainder of the postseason, but he is heading into the final year of his contract. Going to be looking to potentially re-sign him this offseason, as Howie has shown he likes to try to get people. Kona's very adamant about her thoughts on this. Kona, you have thoughts on Nakobe Dean? Oh, now she wants to be real quiet. Now she wants to be quiet. Yeah, very perceptive.
We saw the drop right from him to Oren Burks. Like Nakobe Dean's playing his ass off. Right.
Ooh, Doc.
Doc comes out fresh out of Friday the 13th.
Well, I got to pick up my son, so I had to turn that off. A little scary there at the red light.
Yeah, it was spooky. Doc, Nakobe Dean, what was it? Left patellar tear?
Patellar tendon rupture, yeah.
That one. Patellar tendon rupture.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that and the injury for next season? He's obviously going to be out the remainder of this postseason. But what can you tell us about Nakobe Dean's patellar tendon rupture and him heading into the last year of his contract?
Yeah, not a great injury. I mean, it's definitely he's out for the rest of this year. I don't even think if they make it to the Super Bowl, he'll be ready. This is usually a 6 to 12 month recovery. The tendon ruptures, you have to basically reattach it to the kneecap. So it's a tough injury. I think he knew immediately what happened. You feel kind of like an Achilles. You feel that pop. And you have this weakness with straightening and bending his legs. He had to be assisted off the field, and I think like they immediately said that he was out. So I knew it was a significant injury. I couldn't really see what happened, but this is a tough one. But it is a recoverable injury. There have been plenty of players that have suffered this injury. Remember, I don't know, you guys might be a little too young for this, but
Sean's old as shit.
Oh, the wide receiver who was for the Giants, who was doing that salsa dance.
Cruz.
Cruz, he popped his patellar tendon, and he got back to playing. But it's tough coming on a contract year because he's going to have to prove it. I mean, he's a great player. He's a great mind and body and a great leader. So want him on your team for sure. It's just a question of he may have to come back on sort of like a prove it deal. And he may not accept it and try to, take his chances outside. But I think it's a very risky money to gamble a lot on a long-term deal for him. But fortunately, linebackers aren't like the top, earners in the football team. So maybe they can work something out. I think given everything else, he would want to stay in this system with Fangio and everything. So I think it's in our favor. And I think I fully believe he'll be back playing and playing at a high level.
And also, thankfully, we have one more year of control over him. He's heading into the final year of his contract. So, there's the opportunity that Howie could always extend him and try to take advantage of this unknown with his injury this offseason and give him a 2-3 year extension on a deal, hoping, hey, if this guy stays healthy, we can get him at a very reasonable price. Or you go ahead and you say, hey, man, we don't know what you're going to do. Go out there, play your final year of your contract. We'd love to keep you. We would love for you to go out there and earn as much money as you possibly can, but we're going to have to see you go out there and do exactly that. You're going to have to earn it. And so their Eagles are in a good position either way with Nakobe Dean, and I wish nothing but the best for the guy. I mean, he was a guy that I was all but out on for the people that have been listening for years. I was a pretty anti-Nakobe Dean, and he shut me up very quickly this year until he did what he seems to always do and to get a serious injury.
Well, I mean, as I was mentioning earlier, just with this, you see what he's capable of in a Vic Fangio run defense, right? And you saw the drop off when Oren Burks came into play. Damn near felt like he was missing every other tackle, just was out of position. So, I mean, the guy's got skill. Hopefully, if that patellar tendon rupture is able to heal up, pretty consistently from what we've seen, sign the guy, give him a 3-4 year contract. It's not going to be, you're not going to be resetting the market right? Because of his injury concerns. This is a pretty typical like time for Howie to jump in and get something in the discount bin, in the bargain bin.
Yeah.
Right. So dip into that, give him a 4-year contract where he's only making $2.5 million a year, a steal for the production he's going to give you. And you know, it's low risk, high reward.
Yeah. No, I'm a fan of that. And look, again, I don't think you can say anything bad about Oren Burks right now. Let's be honest. The guy possibly won us the game on the very first play of the game. Just laying, just in.
Not as a linebacker.
No, but it was still him. He went out there and said, "Get off."
Great job on special teams, Oren Burks. You know, if anything, that was a total whiff by the refs.
I don't know.
It depends on how long you want to run. Let the scrum.
Yeah, but the ball clearly is still kind of wiggling. You know,
yeah. I mean, if somebody's yanking on it,
was I shocked that they ruled it that way? Yeah.
No,
I mean that call never goes the Eagles' way. Ever.
That's true.
So I was shocked. I mean, when they came out and you saw the ref taking off his headset and all, I was watching the game with a couple buddies and I was like, look, I'm going to go ahead and assume we didn't get this call because 1, we're not going to, and 2, then I can't be disappointed. You know, I'm just like, I'm assuming that they are calling it Packers ball.
I mean,
but when they said
apparently have much to lose. It was the first play of the game. Packers were supposed to have the ball. So if they get the ball back, who really cares?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, exactly. It's like, it stinks. But if they, you don't get the call, you're sitting there thinking about, Eagles, Dallas, no clean recovery kind of thing. And you're like, you want a clean recovery? Eagles came up with the ball. They came out of that dog scrum with the ball in their hands. And so, it was, I don't know. I don't know enough about the rules, but Eagles got the ball. Oren Burke said, get off the tracks. The train's rolling through, and just laid the boom out there. Loved to start the game with just a booming hit. And then, as linebacker, he played pretty poorly. But how many times have we said that about a guy thrust into a role in the middle of a game that he was not prepared for, and then we see the next week when he's prepared fully for that starting role have a much better game? I mean, predominantly you see it on offensive line.
He was talking about trotting out Trotter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
So, clearly Fangio wasn't particularly impressed with his performance either.
No, I mean, we had a guy go out as a big name in the Eagles and won Jason Peters during the 2017 run. And the guy that came in when he got injured in the middle of that game was one Halapoulivaati Vaitai. And right when he came in, he looked absolutely terrible. But then once he was the starter, he was pretty damn good. When he had the full week to prepare, knowing this is my role, this is going to be my spot. Oren Burks knows Nakobe Dean ain't coming back. This is going to be my spot. Who knows? Maybe he's going to look pretty good. He looked all right in the last 2 games of the season, the regular season.
I think linebacker is one of the positions where you will see that jump a little more. Offensive line, I can't really buy that into that too much. You're always practicing. There's always 2s are always getting in plenty of work.
Yeah, but
linebackers, I mean, the 2s aren't getting nearly as much work with the rest of the 1s. I don't know. I feel like there's levels to that adage. And it feels like linebacker would be higher on that hierarchy of who to expect to jump in week 2.
That's fair. Well, hey.
But not for nothing, Oren Burks has playoff and Super Bowl experience. So you want a guy that's been in the big games. He played in last year's Super Bowl. So I think it's a good person to have as a backup / impromptu starter. And I think, not for nothing, I love Trot, but he's a rookie, so I'd rather go with the veteran presence.
Well, that's why I felt that Fangio saying, well, his time, if Trotter's time might be, starting next week. I felt that was pretty damning, right? Because you're going to throw a guy like Burks in right away, right? But for him to have that full season of practice and then through one game be like, oh no, absolutely, actually, I probably can't do this. And you know what? He might go out there and he might actually still play 50 snaps for all we know. Right, Vic Fangio wasn't definite like, dude, Trotter starting, Burks is
no, exactly
fine. But I thought that comment was a little surprising for me, and it felt pretty damning.
Yeah, but we've heard him make a lot of statements this year that some have been pretty spot on, and others have been, what was it? Q was like he was always pretty much singing Q's praises. but he had a couple of guys that he had said some things about that ended up playing plenty. But he was pretty obvious about Bryce Huff, and you don't see Bryce Huff out there. So who knows? Who knows? He's a pretty straight shooter. So we'll see what happens. We'll follow the guys that we trust on the, following the practices and see who they're saying is going out there with the ones more often. And look, do I think Jeremiah Trotter can go out there and do a fine job? Sure. That's about it. Sure. I think
sure. We don't know.
Yeah, no idea. Sure.
We're just trusting our defensive coordinator at this point.
Oh, of course. There's no reason not to. Look, touching a little bit on the upcoming matchup, Sunday, 3 p.m. matchup against the Rams. What are your thoughts heading into it? I feel relatively confident it's going to be similar to the 2017-2018 run where they looked awful the first game, come out, look completely different. I think this matchup is great. I love facing off against the Rams, who we've dominated. I think that our defense matches up very well. I think Aaron Jones Kyron Williams is a good running back that we shut down pretty well. He had, I believe, just under 100 yards and a score. But look, if you're getting 100 yards and a score, and that's it out of a guy that is averaging 150 and a crazy amount of touchdowns, we'll see. It's going to come down to, are we going to shut down Puka Nacua? Are we going to shut down Cooper Kupp, which we obviously did in that first matchup against them.
Yeah, I mean, Kupp doesn't have too much left in the tank at this point. I would really hope that Slay is going to be starting and plays most of the game. I know he's going to miss some time because he does every single week, but Nacua is nasty. Nacua is nasty, and he can definitely give somebody fits. I think we stand a much better chance with a guy like Slay out there than if Isaiah Rodgers is stuck guarding him all game. And it's going to depend on this offense, man. There's only been so many games that you're going to be able to rely on your defense to only allow 10 points and to put up 22.
Yeah, especially in the postseason.
Can we win that exact same way next week? Yeah, it's possible for sure. This defense can shut anybody, put anybody to hold them to less than 20. So it is possible, but I can't count on it.
No, I'm going to rely on Jalen Hurts to come out of this funk.
I have to see more from Hurts. Yeah, I mean, I'm tired of saying it. I don't want to say it. That's my guy. I feel like you have to preface every single criticism of Jalen with by the way, I do love the guy and I'm rooting for him hardcore, but there were decisions that weren't made. There were plays that weren't made. He's just not throwing guys open in a time where defenses get that much better. I got to see him throw some guys open. And, if you're going to be relying on the deep ball, I need to make sure that deep ball is pretty damn accurate. Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, the last time we played him, we won 37-20. Jalen Hurts only had 179 yards passing.
You talked about it. Saquon had a huge game.
255 yards. He averaged 10 yards a carry. You can't bank on that. You
can't bank on that. You can't. Can you expect? Would I like to see them establish the run and require little of Jalen to where we're having the same thing next week, where we're going, okay, well, he didn't statistically have a great game, but we still put up 28.
You know who abused their defense other than Saquon Barkley?
Who was that?
Arthur Juwan Brown. 6 catches, 109 yards. Going out there just making easy work on a very run-heavy game. On the few passing yards we had, a majority of them went to one A.J. Brown. So I'll be looking for him to have a very sizable return to this team. And look, this is going to be the first deep playoff run that A.J. Brown has made with the team. He was on the Super Bowl team. Yeah,
the 22 team.
Yeah. What am I thinking? Thinking?
Yep.
Duh.
Okay. Question is, did you get a digital or physical copy of Inner Excellence?
I went and saw that it increased by 546,000% sales or something like that.
53 million%.
53 million%.
Which means he sold one copy over the last 9 months, and now it's
now he sold 53 million. No,
right.
No, I did not order. I know our guy Chris on Philly Dogs ordered his copy. I've yet to order mine. I saw the shipping dates on that and everything, and I was like,
Yeah, I think I'll just print out the cover of the book and then just act like my copy of something else is inner excellence.
Yes, Doc, you ever read on the operating room? Just between tendon repairs, you just think, I'm gonna sit down and read a few paragraphs.
That's a very bad look, especially if you're reading something orthopedic while you're in the operating room. But we do have time in between, and we can sit down and we look at articles and stuff. So yeah, we do. It's just not common. Just like someone reading on the bench is not common.
Apparently, he's been doing it all year. Jahan Dotson posted a picture, in a game where he had over 100 yards and a touchdown, that he was still sitting on the bench reading it because some knucklehead posted a video saying like, oh, would he be doing this if he was having a good game? Of course not. He's sending a message to the team that he's unhappy. And Jahan Dotson was like, here's literally a picture of him having a phenomenal game while also reading the book on the sideline. It's just what he does. But you can't have good things in Philadelphia. So you have to have some kind of controversy. Well, look, NFL divisional round, Eagles, Rams. I got a swift, easy win for the Birds. We're going to try to do a full preview episode with the gang. We're hoping, I know Coach Joey is over trying to four-peat, not one, not two, not three, four-peat in the flag football, what was it, semi-pro world championships?
It's the Class 3A Division 4 semi-pro soft touch. I don't know. I'm making
flag football world champion. You made that all up?
Yes.
Damn, I was like, wow, look at you supporting Coach at such a high level. No, he's. I know.
Pom-poms underneath the desk here. I'm gonna go cheer him on as soon as we leave here.
I know he's previously played against Isaiah Rodgers in this league, and he's played against some other NFL players. So, good for him. I know he's busy out there in Tampa competing in the Worlds with Sick With It. I think that is his team name. So, stay sick with it, Coach, and bring us home the gold. Make us proud, kid.
Make us proud.
And then obviously Tommy Stakes is too cool for us with his big Mitchell and Ness partnership this past week.
I think he's somewhere just staring at himself in the mirror. I think he's got a fit on. He's not sure if it works right. He's got the lighting that goes all the way around, the vanity lighting, right? And he's just going, is this going to crush on Sunday? So sorry you missed him, guys, but I'm telling you right now, he's in the kitchen right now cooking.
Just cooking. And then our boy Philly Dogs is out making some international phone call right now because he is an international man of leisure.
The guy, listen, man, if you've ever worked for one of those countries or companies that are based out in Asia, they do not mess around. They will have an American team and they're gonna have a meeting at lunch. Okay. I don't care what time it is over there. It'll be 1 a.m. They'll be like, okay, so we'll see you then, because that's when the meeting is. So.
Yeah, he seems like he's always on the horn with Japan. So, hopefully we can find a time to fully set up an episode for you all. But either way, it's a go Birds. It's a big win. I'll be tweeting out my players of the game and my score prediction if we don't have a preview episode. But gentlemen, I greatly appreciate your all's time, expertise, and opinions. Go Birds. I'd love to talk about the Sixers, but I actually would hate to talk about the Sixers. So final thoughts.
Phillies news. We got Phillies updates we can talk about, man, before we even touch on the Sixers.
Yeah, Bryce Harper's banana bread recipe and
you guys raw milk enjoyers? Am I amongst raw milk enjoyers? Or
can't say I'm a fan.
You guys pasteurized players?
I'm probably a PP, a pasteurized player.
Yeah, it's a little risky.
Yeah, we had a guy that we knew that we went to school with that was a big raw milk guy. We'll talk about him.
Listen, I'm not against it, but I'm
Shout out Alex Hawthorne. Big raw milk. Big raw milk guy. Look, final thought. Give me 2%. Nice 2%.
Whole milk daddy.
That's Shawn. Doc, final thought. All right, go Birds.
It's good to be back.
There he is. It's good to be back. There we go. Go Birds.